Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Mark, and this is English Unleashed for All. Today we're doing something different, something essential for modern life. We're going to master the vocabulary of mental wellness and emotional resilience. Let me ask you something. When someone asks how you are, what do you say? Probably, I'm fine, or I'm stressed, or I'm tired. These words are simple. Everyone uses them. But here's the problem. These basic words don't capture what's really happening inside you. They don't describe the complexity of modern mental load. They don't help you set boundaries. They don't communicate your true internal state. In 2026, we face challenges our grandparents never imagined. Digital overwhelm, information overload, constant connectivity, decision fatigue. The mental demands are enormous. And yet, most people describe all of this with one word: stressed. That's like describing a symphony with one note. It's not enough. Today, I'm going to teach you precise, sophisticated vocabulary for describing your mental wellness. We're going beyond basic feelings. We're learning functional expressions that articulate boundaries, cognitive endurance, and emotional resilience. By the end of this episode, you'll have the linguistic confidence to name what's happening inside your mind. You'll be able to communicate your needs clearly. You'll be able to protect your mental health with language. This isn't just vocabulary. This is power. Because when you can name something, you can control it. When you can describe your boundaries, you can defend them. When you can articulate your mental state, people understand you better and respect your limits. So stay with me. This episode will change how you talk about yourself. It will give you the language tools to navigate modern stress with clarity and confidence. Let's begin. First, let's talk about the vocabulary of modern mental load. Mental load is the invisible weight you carry. The constant thinking, planning, remembering, deciding, managing. It's exhausting, but most people just say, I'm stressed. Let's upgrade that language. Instead of saying I'm stressed, try these phrases. I'm experiencing cognitive overload. Cognitive means related to thinking and mental processes. Overload means too much. So cognitive overload means your thinking capacity is overwhelmed. This is specific. This is clear. Another phrase. I'm dealing with decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is a real psychological phenomenon. When you make too many decisions in a day, your brain gets tired. Each decision uses mental energy. By the end of the day, even simple choices feel impossible. Should I eat this or that? I don't know. I can't decide anymore. That's decision fatigue. When you tell someone, I'm experiencing decision fatigue, they understand. You're not just tired. Your decision-making capacity is depleted. This communicates something specific about your mental state. Let's talk about modern stressors. In 2026, we have unique challenges. One major challenge is digital overwhelm. Digital overwhelm is the exhaustion that comes from constant digital stimulation. Notifications, messages, emails, social media, news. Your brain is constantly processing digital information. It's overwhelming. Instead of saying, my phone is stressing me out, say, I'm experiencing digital overwhelm and need to disconnect. This sounds professional. It sounds intentional. It shows self-awareness. Another modern challenge is sensory regulation. Sensory regulation is your ability to manage sensory input. Noise, light, touch, smells. When you're in a loud, bright, crowded environment, your senses can become overwhelmed. You might feel irritated, anxious, or exhausted. Instead of saying, "This place is annoying," say, "I'm having difficulty with sensory regulation right now. I need a quieter environment." This explains your need without blaming others. It's clear and respectful. Here's another powerful phrase. I'm experiencing a depletion of mental bandwidth. Mental bandwidth is your capacity for mental processing. When it's depleted, you have no more capacity left. You can't think clearly. You can't focus. You can't handle more input. This phrase is much better than "I'm tired." Tired is vague. Depletion of mental bandwidth is precise. It tells people, I've used up my mental resources. I need recovery time. Let's practice using these phrases in context. Imagine a colleague asks you to take on another project. You're already overwhelmed. Instead of saying, "I can't, I'm too busy," try this. "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm currently experiencing cognitive overload. Taking on another project would compromise the quality of my existing work. I need to protect my mental bandwidth right now." See how powerful that is? You're not just saying no. You're explaining your mental state with sophisticated language. You're showing self-awareness and setting a professional boundary. Now, let's move to the language of emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is your ability to manage your emotional responses. This is crucial for mental wellness. People with good emotional regulation don't eliminate emotions. They experience emotions fully, but respond to them skillfully. First, let's understand the difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is automatic and impulsive. Something happens, you immediately react without thinking. Someone criticizes you, you immediately defend yourself or attack back. That's reacting. Responding is intentional and thoughtful. Something happens. You pause. You consider your options. Then you choose your response. Someone criticizes you. You take a breath. You think about whether the criticism is valid. Then you respond calmly. That's responding. The ability to respond instead of react is called emotional agility. Emotional agility is flexibility in handling emotions. You can recognize your emotions, accept them, and still choose your behavior. You're not controlled by your emotions. You're agile with them. When you want to communicate this skill, say, "I am working on my emotional agility. I'm learning to respond rather than react." This shows maturity and self-awareness. Now, let me teach you some specific techniques and their names. Self-soothing is any action you take to calm yourself when you're upset. Deep breathing, listening to music, going for a walk. These are self-soothing techniques. When you need to calm down, you might say, "I need a moment for self-soothing before we continue this conversation." Grounding techniques are methods for bringing yourself into the present moment when you feel anxious or overwhelmed. One common grounding technique is the 5 senses exercise. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. This grounds you in the present. You might say, "I'm feeling anxious. I'm going to use a grounding technique to center myself." This communicates that you're taking care of your mental state actively and skillfully. Now, one of the most important concepts in emotional regulation is the window of tolerance. Your window of tolerance is the zone where you can function effectively. Inside this window, you can think clearly, manage emotions, and respond appropriately. Outside this window, you become dysregulated, either hyperaroused, anxious, panicked, or hypoaroused, numb, shut down, depressed. Everyone's window of tolerance is different, and it changes based on stress, sleep, health, and other factors. When you understand your window of tolerance, you can communicate your capacity. For example, "I'm outside my window of tolerance right now. I need some time to regulate before I can have this discussion productively." This is incredibly clear. You're telling the person, I'm dysregulated. I can't function well right now. I need recovery time. Or you might say, that situation pushed me beyond my window of tolerance. I need to process it before moving forward. This explains why you can't just bounce back immediately. You were pushed past your capacity. You need time to return to your functional zone. Let's move to articulating cognitive endurance. Cognitive endurance is your mental stamina, your ability to sustain mental effort over time. This is different from intelligence. Intelligence is capacity. Endurance is sustainability. Most people say things like, I need to focus, or I can't concentrate. Let's upgrade that language. Instead of saying I need to focus, use the term deep work. Deep work is focused, uninterrupted, cognitively demanding work. It's the opposite of shallow work, which is easy, distracted, low-value tasks. You might say, I'm scheduling 3 hours of deep work this afternoon. Please don't disturb me during that time. Or, I need to enter a period of deep work to complete this project effectively. When you're doing deep work successfully, you might enter a flow state. Flow state is complete immersion in an activity. Time disappears. Distractions fade. You're fully engaged and performing at your peak. Athletes call it being in the zone. Psychologists call it flow. You might describe it like this. I was in a flow state this morning. I accomplished so much without even noticing time passing. This describes a positive, productive, mental state. But sometimes you need recovery. After intense cognitive effort, you need cognitive refueling. Cognitive refueling is rest that restores your mental energy. Not all rest refuels you. Scrolling social media might feel like rest, but it doesn't refuel you. It drains you more. True cognitive refueling might be taking a walk in nature, having a meaningful conversation, reading for pleasure, practicing a hobby, meditating. These activities restore your mental resources. You might say, after that intense project, I need some cognitive refueling. I'm going to spend the weekend disconnecting and recharging my mental stamina. Now, let's talk about the opposite of mental clarity. When you can't think clearly, you might experience brain fog. Brain fog is a feeling of mental cloudiness. Your thoughts are slow. Your memory is poor. Concentration is difficult. Everything feels harder than it should. Instead of saying I can't think, say, I'm experiencing brain fog today. I need to address my sleep and stress levels to restore my mental acuity. Mental acuity is sharpness and clarity of mind. It's the opposite of brain fog. You might also say, my mental acuity is compromised right now. I need to postpone this decision until I can think more clearly. This shows wisdom. You're recognizing that your current mental state isn't optimal for important decisions. Now, let's talk about defining boundaries and protective speech. Boundaries are limits you set to protect your well-being. Many people struggle with boundaries because they don't have the language for them. They feel guilty saying no. They worry about seeming rude or difficult. But boundaries aren't rude. Boundaries are essential for mental health. And when you have sophisticated language for boundaries, you can set them respectfully and clearly. One powerful phrase is, I'm protecting my peace. Peace here means inner calm and well-being. When you say you're protecting your peace, you're saying that maintaining your mental wellness is your priority. For example, I'm going to skip that event. I'm protecting my peace right now. Or, I'm limiting my social media use to protect my peace. Another important concept is emotional labor. Emotional labor is the effort required to manage emotions in social or professional situations. Listening to someone's problems, managing conflict, being cheerful when you feel sad, suppressing frustration. All of this is emotional labor, and it's exhausting. You might say, I've done a lot of emotional labor today. I need some time alone to recharge. This explains why you're tired even though you didn't do physical work. Emotional labor is real work. Or you might set a boundary. I don't have the emotional capacity for that conversation right now. Can we schedule it for another time when I'm better resourced? This is clear and respectful. Let's talk about social battery. Your social battery is your capacity for social interaction. Introverts typically have smaller social batteries. They drain quickly in social situations and need alone time to recharge. Extroverts have larger social batteries. They recharge through social interaction. But everyone has a social battery, and everyone needs to recharge sometimes. Instead of saying, I want to be alone, try, my social battery is depleted. I need some solitude to recharge. Or, I'm running low on social energy. I'm going to stay in tonight. This language is clear and non-offensive. You're not rejecting people. You're managing your energy. Here's another powerful phrase for boundaries. I need to create some healthy distance. Healthy distance means space in a relationship that allows you to maintain your well-being. You're not ending the relationship. You're adjusting the closeness to a sustainable level. You might say, I need to create some healthy distance from this friendship right now. It's become too draining. Or I'm establishing healthy distance from family drama to protect my mental health. When you need to decline something, instead of just saying no, try. I'm prioritizing my well-being right now, so I need to decline. Or, that doesn't align with my current capacity, so I'll have to pass. These phrases explain your no without over-explaining or apologizing excessively. You're clear, firm, and respectful. Now let's discuss linguistic tools for resilience and recovery. Resilience is your ability to recover from difficulties. It's not about never experiencing hardship. It's about bouncing back from hardship effectively. One important concept is post-traumatic growth. Most people know about post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, but post-traumatic growth is the opposite. It's positive change that happens as a result of struggling with a difficult situation. You don't just survive the trauma. You grow from it. You become stronger, wiser, more compassionate. You might say, I experienced post-traumatic growth from that difficult period. I developed new strengths I didn't have before. Or, I'm focusing on post-traumatic growth rather than just recovery. I want to emerge from this stronger. This language is empowering. It reframes difficulty as an opportunity for growth. Another key concept is psychological flexibility. Psychological flexibility is the ability to stay present, be open to experience, and act according to your values, even when facing difficult thoughts and feelings. It's accepting discomfort without being controlled by it. You might say, I'm working on my psychological flexibility. I'm learning to accept uncomfortable feelings without letting them dictate my actions. Or, psychological flexibility helps me stay aligned with my values even during stress. After a stressful period, you might need to recalibrate. Recalibrating means adjusting or realigning yourself to find balance again. Like recalibrating an instrument so it measures accurately. You might say, after that intense work period, I need time to recalibrate my internal balance. Or, I'm in a recalibration phase. I'm reassessing my priorities and finding my center again. Let's talk about rebuilding after burnout. Burnout is complete physical and emotional exhaustion caused by prolonged stress. If you've experienced burnout, you might need to discuss your recovery process. You might say, I'm recovering from burnout. I'm implementing sustainable practices to prevent it from happening again. Or I went through a period of burnout, and now I'm focused on long-term resilience rather than short-term productivity. Here's a powerful phrase. I'm cultivating sustainable energy rather than pushing through exhaustion. This shows you've learned to work with your body and mind, not against them. Another useful term is nervous system regulation. Your nervous system has different states. The sympathetic nervous system activates fight or flight. The parasympathetic nervous system activates rest and digest. For good mental health, you need to be able to shift between these states appropriately. You might say, I'm working on nervous system regulation through breathwork and movement. Or my nervous system has been in fight or flight mode for too long. I need practices that activate my parasympathetic nervous system. Let's talk about the language of capacity. Capacity is how much you can handle at any given time. Your capacity changes based on many factors: stress, sleep, health, life, circumstances. It's important to communicate your current capacity honestly. Instead of saying, I'm overwhelmed, try, I'm at capacity right now. I cannot take on anything additional without compromising my well-being. Or I'm below my usual capacity due to recent stressors. I need to scale back temporarily. You might also say, I'm assessing my capacity before committing to that. Or I need to honor my current capacity limits. This language is professional, clear, and boundary-setting. It helps people understand your limitations without you having to over-explain or apologize. Now let's discuss some phrases for self-compassion and self-care. Self-compassion is treating yourself with the same kindness you'd show a good friend. Self-care is taking action to maintain your physical and mental health. Instead of saying, I need a break, try, I'm practicing intentional self-care. Or, I'm prioritizing my well-being today. Instead of I'm being lazy, say, I'm giving myself permission to rest. Rest is productive. You might say, I'm extending myself compassion during this difficult time. Or, I'm treating myself with the kindness I deserve. These phrases reframe rest and kindness to yourself as strengths, not weaknesses. Let's practice putting all of this together. Imagine you've been working intensely for weeks. You're exhausted. A friend invites you to a social event. Here's how you might respond using this vocabulary. Thank you for the invitation. I appreciate you thinking of me. However, I'm currently recovering from a period of cognitive overload and decision fatigue. My social battery is depleted, and I need to prioritize cognitive refueling this weekend. I'm protecting my peace and honoring my capacity limits right now. I hope you understand. Let's connect when I'm better resourced. See how clear and sophisticated that is? You explained your situation. You set a boundary. You didn't apologize excessively. You left the door open for future connection. And you used precise language that communicates self-awareness and emotional maturity. Or imagine you're at work and feeling overwhelmed. Your boss asks if you can take on another project. Here's a response. I want to give each project my full attention and best work. Currently, I'm operating near capacity. Taking on an additional project would push me outside my window of tolerance and compromise the quality of all my deliverables. I need to maintain my mental bandwidth to perform effectively. Can we discuss prioritizing existing projects or adjusting timelines? This response is professional, clear, and boundary setting. You're not just saying no. You're explaining your mental state, advocating for quality work, and offering alternatives. This kind of communication earns respect. Let me give you some more useful phrases for various situations. For describing ongoing stress, I'm managing chronic stress and need to implement more sustainable practices. For describing anxiety, I'm experiencing heightened anxiety and using grounding techniques to regulate. For describing depression, I'm working through a period of low mood and focusing on small, manageable actions. For asking for support, I'm struggling with my mental health right now and would appreciate your support. For setting work boundaries, I'm implementing digital boundaries to protect my cognitive resources. For declining social invitations, I'm in a phase of intentional solitude to recharge my energy reserves. For describing recovery, I'm in a restoration phase after a period of high output. For communicating therapy, I'm working with a mental health professional to build my emotional regulation skills. For explaining changes, I'm recalibrating my life to better align with my values and capacity. All of these phrases are clear, sophisticated, and empowering. They help you communicate your internal experience accurately. They help others understand and respect your boundaries. They demonstrate self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Now, let me give you some phrases that show emotional resilience and growth. I'm building my distress tolerance skills. Distress tolerance is the ability to handle difficult emotions without making them worse. I'm developing greater emotional granularity. Emotional granularity is the ability to identify and name specific emotions precisely rather than just feeling good or bad. I'm strengthening my internal locus of control. Internal locus of control is the belief that you control your own life through your choices and actions, rather than being controlled by external forces. I'm practicing radical acceptance. Radical acceptance is completely accepting reality as it is, without fighting it, even when it's painful. I'm working on my meta-awareness. Meta-awareness is awareness of your own awareness. Noticing that you're thinking certain thoughts or feeling certain feelings. This allows you to have perspective on your mental state rather than being completely absorbed in it. These phrases show that you're actively working on your mental wellness. You're not just passively experiencing emotions. You're developing skills and building resilience. Let me teach you one more set of important terms. These relate to communication in relationships. Emotional availability means being open to connection and able to share feelings. You might say, I'm not emotionally available for that kind of relationship right now. Or, I need a partner who can be emotionally available. Secure attachment is a healthy relationship pattern where you trust others, communicate openly, and maintain independence while staying connected. You might say, I'm working toward secure attachment in my relationships. Or, I value relationships with secure attachment patterns. Compassionate boundaries are limits you set with kindness and respect for both yourself and others. You might say, I'm practicing compassionate boundaries. I can care about you while also protecting my well-being. Repair is the process of addressing and healing a rupture in a relationship after conflict. You might say, I value relationships where both people are willing to engage in repair after disagreements. These terms help you discuss relationship dynamics with precision and maturity. So, my friends, let me summarize what we've learned today. We've moved past basic emotional vocabulary to master sophisticated language for mental wellness. You now have precise terms for cognitive overload, decision fatigue, digital overwhelm, and sensory regulation. You can articulate your mental bandwidth and capacity. You understand emotional regulation concepts like the difference between reacting and responding, the window of tolerance, self-soothing, and grounding techniques. You can describe cognitive endurance through terms like deep work, flow state, cognitive refueling, mental acuity, and brain fog. You have language for setting boundaries, protecting your peace, emotional labor, social battery, healthy distance, and capacity limits. You can discuss resilience through concepts like post-traumatic growth, psychological flexibility, recalibration, and nervous system regulation. Most importantly, you now have the linguistic confidence to name what's happening inside your mind. You can communicate your needs clearly. You can set boundaries respectfully. You can advocate for your mental health professionally and personally. This vocabulary isn't just about sounding sophisticated. It's about giving yourself the tools to understand, communicate, and protect your mental wellness in a demanding world. When you can name your experience precisely, you gain control over it. When you can articulate your boundaries clearly, people respect them. When you speak with this level of self-awareness, you demonstrate emotional maturity that commands respect. I challenge you to use these phrases this week. Pick 3 or 4 that resonate with you. Practice them. Use them in real situations. Notice how differently people respond when you communicate with precision rather than vague generalizations. Your mental wellness matters. Your boundaries matter. Your capacity matters. And now you have the vocabulary to express all of that with confidence and clarity. Thank you for joining me today. You've just upgraded your emotional vocabulary in a way that will serve you for the rest of your life. I'm so proud of you for investing in this kind of self-awareness and communication skill. I am Mark, and this is English Unleashed for All. Until next time, protect your peace, honor your capacity, and speak your truth with linguistic confidence. Take care of yourself, my friend. Goodbye.